Good evening, everybody. To our massive crowd, welcome to the school committee meeting, regular session. Today is Thursday, December 12th, 2024. We are coming to you live from Swampscott High School, room B129. We have called the meeting to order, and if you are so indulged, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Anything for the love of learning this evening?
Not tonight.
Okay, great. Just because Max is here, would you like to move that up?
Sure.
Max, why don't we move it up so you can get on with your evening? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I guess we do need, do I have to take a vote tonight? No, not as chair. I can move up any, I can move anything up. All right, Max, you're on.
Great, thank you for having me.
Oh, we gotta get a mic.
Hello, nice to see everyone. I'm here to discuss the use and occupancy agreement for Big Blue Bargains at the Clarke Portables. I did speak a few meetings back when we were still working out the details of the agreement. We were able to come to an agreement with Big Blue Bargains pending the school committee's approval. And I'm happy to take any questions. It is intended to be a one-year agreement. It's a license agreement, which does mean that it is revocable with certain notice. That's really what it's the appropriate type of agreement with this arrangement. They don't have any direct costs to the district, although they are picking up some of the responsibilities for some of the utilities that the only utility that is separately metered for that building is the electricity. So that was the only one we could really let them pay. There's not substantial other utility costs relative to the rest of the building, but we have put into the agreement their responsibility to take care of the building. We think it's a really good relationship that we want to continue, but at the same time, we didn't want it to be something that adds to the financial burden of the school district's budget. And the reason it took a little bit of time is we were just trying to make sure we had the liability language correct. Both sides felt like that was really important. It's a fairly straightforward agreement. I think it sets us up for success with the arrangement with Big Blue Bargains, and we are excited to get it going.
So Max, I had a question. Just, you actually read my mind. I was thinking of Section 8, the liability indemnification. Can you just maybe in plain English explain to us what it is? I guess my concern was mostly around, people who are customers at the Big Blue Bargain going in there. If something, if they slip and fell,
Yep.
Or if something happened, what would be the liability to the district?
Snow and ice.
Yeah, we worked with council on this, and basically we have as strong of language in this section as we possibly can. You can't ever completely contract away all liability in an instance like this. What we did is we put it in there as strong as we can, but also to be consistent, with the law. So it's pretty straightforward. That this section in particular was completely drafted by KP Law. So we didn't have them. This was based on a prior agreement at another town property with a very similar arrangement with Anchor Food Pantry. So we didn't need them to draft it from scratch, and we were trying to be very efficient with the process, but understanding the importance of the liability section to both us and Big Blue Bargains, we did have KP for this agreement in particular redraft that entire section.
Do they have bathrooms there?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes. Handicap bathrooms too.
So what happens, I would imagine that we do not have maintenance people over there. What happens should there be basic problems?
Yeah, and this is less common in the school district because we're very used to fully staffed buildings for occupied, but on the town side, it's not unusual at all. We have many buildings that are not staffed full-time, so we're very used to the arrangement where an occupant just notifies us, usually just by email. If there's ever an emergency, the police are notified, and then they'll reach out through the proper channels. It doesn't happen that often, thankfully.
So we send somebody over to take care of it?
Yes, now the agreement is structured to try and have them have as much of a level of responsibility as we thought was appropriate here, so that every little thing that happens at that building is not the school and town's responsibility. That was, part of our goal here. So if,
I mean, we're sort of talking about this before we talk about the MOU with the town, right? So with that whole building, right?
yeah, but I actually view this as totally separate. This is an agreement between the school department and,
But I was just thinking.
Big Blue Bargains?
So I was thinking, Max, like, who's the custodial staff that's gonna go over and take care of the problems? Is it town? It's town staff, not school staff, because the town is taking care of that maintenance part of the building with that MOU?
no. I think, let me try and lay it out a little clearer. Custodial.
Wait a minute, I just wanna make sure, you're talking about the MOU versus. I was just
Well,
saying, like,
The MOU is
she brought
part
up,
of,
she brought up a problem, right, that we might need a custodial staff to go over there. And I was just wondering, is the custodial staff coming from the town side or the school side? And whether, that's dependent on the MOU. It tells us who's gonna take care
Well-
of that building.
Keep in mind, myself and some of our staff are
or both.
school and town employees, so that it doesn't, and others that aren't, we typically work together. So it's not, there's not like a line in the sand. But I do think with this particular arrangement, because the MOU does not discuss the portables at all, in this arrangement, this is the school department agreeing with Big Blue Bargains.
So this is almost like, not almost, this is really dividing those two buildings in two. That there, it is no longer Clarke, it is Clarke and the portables.
Because that's a question I had as well, is, if you look at both the MOU and the use and occupancy agreement, the premises are completely different. And the MOU specifically calls out that this does not include, so the MOU says, consisting of the main Clarke School building located at 100 Middlesex Ave, Swampscott, and associated grounds. This does not include what is known as the Clarke School portable.
Yeah, they're two separate agreements for two separate pieces of the property. Ultimately, in both agreements, the school department is retaining control of the properties and the structures at the property, which is the intent. Of course, the MOU is not, it's still on the agenda, but it's not ready for approval yet.
So I think that's where I'm confused. If, to your point about which is coming first, if the town is assuming the building, the Clarke, and here under number 4, it says that they're gonna be paying all of the utilities, but the portables are only paying for their electricity. Does that mean that the rest of it is going into the Clarke bill, which the town is gonna have, or is that coming to us? And if so, how are we doing that?
It's not coming to the school department, there's no way to meter it, so this,
I thought you said that it has a separate meter.
just for the electricity.
Right,
So the
But-
little
but
bit of
everything else
water
is
and the
metered
little
with
bit
the
of
school.
heat will just
go
stay
to,
with.
Whoever's paying the utilities at the Clarke building, and that is not, today it's the school department. In the future, that is not a fully determined question.
Okay.
Whoever's paying those bills, other than electric, will be paying the bills for the Clarke portable. There's no other way around that.
no, it makes sense to me. I just wanna understand, how, like, at the end of the day, who are they calling?
But if there's a plumbing problem, they're gonna call you and somebody, whoever it is gonna come and look at it. If the toilet is clogged or,
Well, yes, like, if the question is trying to understand, like, who's their contact, it's us. But
Us who?
it's the
Facility.
facilities department,
Okay,
okay?
which spans both.
Which spans both. It's not the distinction is not critical to me other than like budget
Okay.
wise, essentially. But I think what I'm trying to stress also is that for minor things, like a clogged toilet, they shouldn't be calling us at all. They should be dealing with it
right, okay.
on their own. That was the goal. Even if there's a a small roof leak, for example, it's still, they're supposed to be dealing with
They're
that,
supposed to
that
deal with it
maintenance.
themselves, okay.
And how is that building heated?
There, it's gas, and there's packaged rooftop units. It has heat and air conditioning, actually, which they were real happy about.
I bet.
Are
And the
they,
handicap accessibility is
Yeah,
a big
it's-
plus for them.
it's
It's a
really-
really
Oh,
good
I mean, it's
spot
just
after
such a
all
huge-
these years.
Yeah,
Great
it's
spot.
such a huge upgrade.
are they going to like clear the sidewalks themselves of snow and ice, and are they responsible for that?
The snow removal is in the agreement. They are responsible for the walkway up to the premises, but not necessarily the sidewalk.
Yeah.
One last thing that was sort of bothering me was the dumpster, that it said it was gonna be close to their door, or, I just wanna make sure we're respectful of the neighbors, because the dumpster's never been sort of like on that side of the Clarke property before. It's always been, down below. So I just wanna be respectful of where that ends up and where it gets emptied, with the dump truck and everything. I mean,
Yeah, we talked a lot about the dumpster with them. At first, there's really two sides to this. You really want them to have a plan for trash removal, because if they don't, you have a potential issue for like an inability to kind of get rid of trash, but you also want to be respectful of how it's done. They don't, if you read the language, it's not mandatory that they have a dumpster. They don't actually think they're going to need a full dumpster at the property, and they ask for that language to be weakened for that exact purpose. So they may just have rollouts. But we've been very conscious of the neighbors and the pest control and the dumpsters and the rules about how people can leave donations. A lot of those rules were geared towards not impacting the neighbors.
yeah, I mean, I saw that one, you can't leave donations outside of hours. I mean, that happens all the time anyway. I hope they're just doing a drive-bys, right, to see if the donations are there on days they're not open, or in the mornings they're not open or something. But-
Well, yeah, I mean, I think our objective would be for them to, just like Anchor,
Right.
only to take donations when it's staffed, because we really don't want piles of
Right.
stuff there, and that would be
They
a
don't either.
violation.
They don't either, I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
People
they don't wanna
still
be
do
drag-
it.
They don't want to be
People still do
dragging
it.
stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So can I just dovetail off that? Where do they anticipate a small dumpster going?
Well, like I said, they actually aren't, as far as I understand, they're not really planning on a dumpster. They think
Okay.
they can do it with rollaways. But when I was picturing it, I was thinking like sort of to the left of not to the right towards the neighbors, but sort of like the back left. There's a space, there's like a yard there, before you get to that retaining wall that leads to the old dumpster area for the Clarke School. So I think they'll probably utilize that, what I'll call like the rear area of the portables.
Right, okay. Any,
I have one last question.
Go ahead.
Who's leading this on the Big Blue Bargain side? Who's the?
There's a group, I don't have all the names handy, but there's been a whole group of I think they're mostly parents of children in the school district. It's, Big Blue Bargains as an organization has been around for a while, but there's definitely been a transition from some of the people that were doing it before to sort of a new generation.
Okay.
okay.
And Max, I think I know the answer, but I just want to confirm with you. Just, the use and occupancy agreement has the town side party as the town of Swampscott. I just want to make sure that that's stemming from the MOU. That's why it's the town of Swampscott, not the Swampscott School District.
Can you say that again?
Sure.
Oh, at the top of the.
Yeah, in the use and occupancy, it says town of Swampscott, not Swampscott School District. And I just want to confirm that that's because of the MOU that assigns things to the town.
Again, the signatory to this is Swampscott Public Schools.
Yeah.
It doesn't have relation to the MOU. We may want to change the top line, Town of Swampscott, to Swampscott School District, although I don't know that we need to, because the school department
Is
is
the town.
Right,
a sub-department of the Town of Swampscott.
right. All right. I don't think it would hurt. I mean,
was gonna say
Yeah,
from.
It's
from a
up to you,
legal
but yeah,
point of
just,
view-
you might want to just confirm, if KP looked at this, you might just want to confirm on the parties to make sure that,
Sure, yeah, no, that's a
if
good
it needs
point.
to be consistent with the signatory, it might be, so,
Absolutely.
thanks.
I mean, this is a great organization. They've supported the school
Mm.
with so much money. I mean, at their last home, they shared the money with whomever were the
Volunteers.
the volunteers wanted to share the money with, and I don't know, is it gonna go all back to the school, do we know, or to any organization that volunteers earmark it for?
You know, that ultimately is their decision. They are, a nonprofit
Yeah,
organization.
I guess we monitor that as a, since they have a 1 year, I mean, right? I don't want more money going to other people and us underwriting sort of their home, and using it for other
Yeah, I
organizations
agree with
in
you,
town,
Suzanne.
right?
Except
I
that we're not underwriting it.
Well, I'm just saying, but other organizations will come to us and say, we're gonna give you some money and you give us a free place to live.
Right,
I'm just saying, I don't wanna set a precedent for
Yeah.
doing
Yeah, we're not
anything like that.
charging
I
them
mean,
rent.
yeah.
They're
I mean, in the
I-
past,
I agree with
in
you.
the past, 100% went to the school, and I know that they changed their model a little bit, because it was really hard to get volunteers just from the schools, but hopefully they'll ramp up that program again, and I just,
Well, and now that it's not in a mouse-infested space, I would imagine they'll probably be able to get volunteers in a better,
yeah, I'm just saying, for us, we should revisit this, right, before this contract's renewed, or this
Right,
this
I agree.
licensing is renewed or something, just to make sure that,
Right.
that it's still beneficial for the schools.
Right. So I guess I got to go back to what, John, you were saying is, are we comfortable signing the use and occupancy agreement with the town of Swampscott as the owner?
I am.
I am.
I am.
Are we running
You
into?
could change it if you weren't comfortable, you could say the town of Swampscott acting through its school committee. I've seen that in other
I mean,
documents.
there's enough, that, at the end, it says that it's this, the school is signing. And Swampscott School
Right.
District is Swampscott.
Yeah. I'm not a lawyer, John. You offer any guidance here?
Yeah. I'm not going to say okay, just because of that technicality. I mean, we could, if you want to have the vote, I guess we could vote conditional on
Making that
clarifying on
amendment.
the,
Yeah.
on the language with the parties.
All right. That's what I would like to do, actually, if that's okay. So, can I just ask one more question, Max? I'm sorry, and I think maybe there's a little confusion. We're not doing anything with the MOU tonight, correct?
We are not doing anything with the MOU.
Great.
That still is with the town.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, can someone make a motion that we accept the use and occupancy agreement between, the town of Swampscott / the Swampscott School District and Big Blue Bargains for the term of 1 year, with the caveat that this is changed, the top is changed from the town of Swampscott to the Swampscott Public Schools, only because it's really saying, it is saying two different things. So I think we can sign it, but I'd like that caveat to have that changed. So
But I
can,
thought the change was to be conditional on what the parties, like KP said.
correct, yeah,
So the caveat isn't that it's changed, it's
Yes.
that the change
Correct.
is,
correct,
Reviewed.
like, it might not be changed.
right.
All right. I'll make a motion that we accept the the occupancy agreement, conditional on legal reviewing the first line of the agreement.
Great. Someone
Second.
All right. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. All opposed? It carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Max. All
Welcome.
Thanks, Max.
Problem.
right, so, should I sign this?
What an exciting thing for them to have a decent space.
Right?
And that's literally like next week.
Yes,
I have a car full of stuff.
it's been years since we've been trying
Oh,
to find
good, I
that
have a
space.
bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's in time for Christmas.
Hold on, Max, you can take this with you, actually, if you want. Yeah, Max, here you go. If you could just make copies and return it to Superintendent's office.
It feels good, feels right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agree.
they needed a place for a long time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for answering all our questions. Of course. All right. So one of the things that we kind of wanted to chat about is just have a little bit, I know that, I think many of us have some questions for the superintendent. I will ask that we keep those questions, that was out, by the way.
It's a little uncomfortable that there's no topic on the agenda.
Correct. So,
I don't even know what we're talking about.
Well, also, are we gonna, is there any discussion about Clarke?
No,
No,
we just
we-
put the MOU in again. It's on the town side right now, waiting for that to happen.
right,
Okay,
not
then
ours.
I think we just have to acknowledge that,
okay.
because it's on your,
All right, so, thank you, Amy. So, under the Facilities Director report, we did have a Part B, which was the Clarke School MOU. Max just confirmed with us that the town is not ready to continue with that MOU. Is that correct?
Well, it's in their hands.
they are
It's in,
continuing.
They're working
it's in their
on it.
hands to get
Right,
us
it's in
the
their hands.
agreement.
It's not
Okay.
ready for us
All right.
yet.
Not ready for our prime time as of yet. Okay. Thank you, Amy. All right, so we've all had some questions for the superintendent. And I will say, and Pam, I do want to acknowledge you're a little bit uncomfortable with just, because there's no list of questions per se.
It's not a topic.
What
I
are
know,
we
wait,
talking about?
what are we talking about? Yeah, I'm confused.
So I've received emails from many of you about just questions for the superintendent. Like, so for me, I have one question I wanted to talk about with the change in MCAS. You know, I want to talk a little bit about just some of our
I
graduate.
should have known the topic, or I
Okay.
would be prepared, yeah. I'd be happy to, if something actually just came across my desk today from the state, but I'm a little uncomfortable because there is no topic. You didn't even have to give me the questions, but if you want me to report on something, I'd be happy to report on it. But it'd be helpful if so you'd like to know about the MCAS. I actually was gonna share the document we got from the state, I don't know if you received it today too, with the committee.
We got it too.
Oh, you did get it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a frequently asked questions document, and so truthfully, I had a couple things going on, so I don't know if Mr. Kalishman had a chance to read it.
I just glanced at it.
Yeah.
I saw the beginning. just-
I know. I have to read it more thoroughly, and certainly I can get back to you.
Okay.
I can report on that at the 19th if you'd like.
There was a discussion on the MASC listserv today about what people are doing with their policy about graduation requirements, because the 10th grade MCAS was one of the graduation requirements that's in our, so, I mean, that has to change too.
Right.
But it was just sort of talking about how districts were dealing with that, but, I mean, that's an easy one.
Well, because MCAS is going on, as
Right.
usual.
Right.
It's not going away.
No, and so I feel like it's not that I've ignored it, it's just there were other pressing matters when that came across today, and so certainly I can bring it before the school committee on the 19th.
So Glenn, would it be okay if other school committee members had either topics or specific
Absolutely.
questions to send them to you, you can pass them on to the
Sure.
superintendent?
Yeah, I'd just like to be prepared to report out on whatever you'd like me to report out on.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Would you share the list that you do have? Just to remind us all.
Yes. I will do that. Okay. We'll come back to that at a different date. Committee comment. Karen?
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. Amy?
I wish you were here tonight. I just want to say, shout out to Noel. I was so impressed when I watched last week's, the last school committee meeting with Mr. Mr. Franklin's, where am I from? I thought Noel's was really pretty incredible and very, very intimate. So I give her a lot of credit for speaking that publicly, and I wish you were here. I did send her a note, but it was pretty fabulous. Brought tears to my eyes.
All right. Can I just thank you very much. I'm assuming we're not broadcasting live?
No, we are.
We are,
It's
okay.
just the Zoom that's not working for whatever reason.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Anything else? John?
I just wanted to recognize the band and the chorus. They had a couple of things in the last few weeks. They had the big Fenway Park performance day before Thanksgiving. And again, Sam's here, so again, acknowledge the football team for their great season as well. And, you know, the band did a great job at Fenway, and they also had the Disney trip last week. And from all indications, that went really well. I was very jealous of seeing them in their T-shirts and while they were performing. But, you know, again, just, I remember when we approved that Disney trip and it seemed like 100 years away. Here we are, but, you know, it sounds like it was, you know, for everyone involved, just an excellent experience. So that was it, Glenn.
Great, thank you. Suzanne?
Just to piggyback off of what Sean's saying, that the chorus and the band and also the art department, I just think if people are listening to this or have the bandwidth, 7 o'clock or starting now to come up here, because on our way into this meeting, I was able to like look around at some of the artwork that's in the atrium. It's beautiful, and then there's going to be a concert at 7. So yeah, I mean, we've been talking about. I went to a meeting about the upcoming town newspaper that's being developed, and the people at the meeting I was at were all people of my age, people that don't have kids in the school system, and they were all sort of pining for knowing what was happening in the school, because they miss like when they used to go to performances or concerts and things, because that doesn't go out to the whole town. It just goes out to, you know, Parent Square in general. I mean, every once in a while it makes something else, but these people aren't necessarily watching Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So they were really excited for this new newspaper to sort of have some of these local events. I think we have to remember that.
Right.
And put that out there.
Just to dovetail, if you don't mind, I actually was talking to a couple of the folks from the Swampscott Tides, and I did extend an invitation for, you know, when they're ready to come to join us, to kind of introduce the community, to their, I'll call it a newspaper, just for what it was. And I'm pretty excited about it too, especially after, I've read the Marblehead Current recently, and I think it's going to be just great for the community. Thank you, Suzanne, for bringing that up. I don't have any general comments either. Sam, sorry, Sam. Oh, you know what I do want to say, Sam? Even though the game didn't turn out the way anyone wanted, the event at Fenway Park was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I just had a great time.
It was fun.
Thank you. I had a great time too. I mean, that was
Good.
super, like, nice.
Anything from you'd like to share from a student point of view?
I have no announcements, so I do have one comment. Me and Noelle were actually going to talk about this together, but obviously she's not here. And I'm also aware that we have been absent recently, so you may have spoken about this, but I don't know. But I'm going to bring it up regardless. So it's come to our concern that recently there's been, it's come to our attention that recently there's been concerns about the senior prom. I don't know if it's the same about the junior prom. There was an announcement made somewhat recently that they weren't going to be allowing outside guests to prom. I don't know if you guys are aware about this or not, but you know, they've always allowed outside guests. I don't know what it is for the junior prom, but I know at least for the senior prom, they won't be allowing outside guests, and a lot of students, rightfully so, are concerned about it. You know, I know there may or may not have been issues in the past, but there's also been instances where it's been done in the past where there haven't been any issues. So I know, you know, there's a way to make it happen. But yeah, so a lot of students are concerned about that, and I am as well. People are saying, oh, I don't want to go unless I can bring, you know, my date from wherever. So yeah, obviously, you know, there's some time before then, but I just wanted to bring that up and make it known that, you know, there's some talk.
So I can fill you in that the announcement was made for the junior prom, that they were not allowing outside guests, but I would encourage you to go see Mr. Kohut.
Okay.
Because I think they came to a really good decision, and now there'll be a process for allowing outside dates.
Yeah, I was unaware.
Yeah. I'm
glad
glad you brought it up, and I actually didn't bring it up because I thought that I maybe mistakenly thought that also applied to the senior prom.
Yeah.
So I would stop, I make an appointment, speak with them. They did overturn the decision, but there is a more rigorous process for bringing an outside date now, and I think that is going to happen.
Okay.
So I can't imagine they're going to overturn it for junior and not for senior.
So I'll clarify, and then next meeting.
Yes, please
hopefully
do.
by the end of
Great.
it
Thank
will
you.
be good.
Based on some of the shenanigans last
Yes,
year.
it's been based on the difficulties at the proms,
Right.
and the pattern has been that they're guests. And so they, sometimes you just go all in, everybody stays in for recess, and that's not necessarily the right way to do it. And so they had some thoughtful conversations with some people and came up with a more rigorous kind of process in setting expectations for outside guests. So, and I would
And I
imagine.
certainly don't want to point everything towards St. John's, but clearly, when you have a prom at an all-boys school.
Right.
Everybody's coming in from the
50%, yeah.
outside.
Right.
So, maybe there's something we can learn there.
Yeah, I loved what they came up with. I don't recall it at the moment, but it was basically scheduling appointment times with the outside guests, with the administration, and if you don't show, you don't go. And really having some conversations is, I think, where they landed. So I can't imagine they're going to allow it at junior and not senior. But thank you for
So I'll
bringing
get,
it up.
I'll get back to you guys on that.
That's great. I'm glad you brought it up, Sam.
Great, thank you, Sam. Reports, discussions. Ms. Angelakis, the floor.
Thank you. So I know that I tend to do the superintendent's report typed up very last minute, and as is the case, there are two things I want to talk about that are not in the typed up version that have occurred. So I was able to watch the Disney concerts on YouTube while I was working one day, and it was just, I was so proud. And when I saw the list of 49 of our students were going, the final list and the chaperones that went, and Mr. Dulett and Olivia Chavez, who's now a teacher up here, who was one of my students, and Mr. Rovey and Mr. Pierce. And so I received an email today that, yesterday from Kayla LeClaire, who also chaperoned, and I just have to read it because I was proud of them, and I am thankful for the staff members we have that give of their own family time to go, but this should make us proud of our kids. It went to myself and Mr. Kohut. It said, "It was my absolute privilege to escort a group of 49 chorus and band students to Walt Disney World last week. The students had the opportunity to participate in workshops where they recorded their own singing playing over scenes from popular Disney movies. They also sang and played on the waterside stage at Disney Springs and were awarded a Golden Mickey for their performances. Between the band and chorus performances, a guest came up to me and asked me to share a message with the group. She told me that she and her husband were walking by, stopped to listen, and wanted to say thank you to the students for sharing their music. They knew we had traveled a long way and that it was a big undertaking, but they were so impressed that they felt compelled to stop and express their gratitude. It was one of the most magical moments of the trip. There were photos and videos. The students were impeccably well behaved every step of the way and received compliments from the airlines, motor coaches, and cast members of Disney to the effect. I am continually impressed by all of them. And then I'd like to recognize both Eddie Rovey, Jim Pierce for their willingness to offer these amazing opportunities to their students. This is certainly above and beyond the call of their role as a teacher. Our students are so lucky to have them. I'd also like to acknowledge Joe Dulett and Olivia Chavez for taking the time away from their families and jobs to chaperone. We couldn't have made this trip without them. The entire trip was filled with music and magic. You should be proud of how well they all represented SHS and the entire community. I certainly am.
That's really nice.
Isn't that
That's so
wonderful?
great.
Yeah, that's.
It's particularly poignant, I think, based on some of the budget cuts that were made last year and some of the things that we couldn't pay for and were worried about whether or not they would happen. So this is a big gift on the educators' parts.
Sure is.
Wow, that's amazing.
I really was, I just felt like I had to share it. And the other exciting thing that happened with Mr. Kalish and myself, I am friendly with the Ipswich superintendent, and he reached out to me several weeks ago and said, would I be open to him bringing his school committee to see Swampscott Elementary School? And so yesterday, I brought Mr. Kalishman along, and we spent an hour and a half speaking with the school committee, answering the questions that they funneled through Dr. Blake. They are actually looking to, they had a failed vote in 2018 for their elementary school. They are looking to combine 2 elementary schools, which would total about our numbers of about 740. And so they're in a similar place. I did have a comment from one of them that you could just see my passion and enthusiasm, and they had visited another school where they're like, here's our school, and I was doing my song and dance through the whole thing, ever so excited, and so much so that they ended and said, can we bring some of our elected officials back with you? And so how proud to just display such a gem that
Do you
that
remember
is.
when we were doing these tours?
Yes.
And remember the superintendent at Haverhill?
Yes.
Was like,
Bring a bus.
I'll get a bus, or bring a bus of your elected officials, right? It was like
Yes.
so,
I'm so
it was
proud.
like
Right.
so
Yes.
impactful to like,
Right.
you know, I did a tour, or I was part of a thing a couple weeks ago with the Reading School Committee.
Yep.
And the Reading School Building Committee that's building a school, and they were just like, we've been to so many schools, this is our favorite.
Oh.
Yeah, like
nice.
people have been really very complimentary.
They actually asked me if I would go to their school committee meeting so they could ask me these questions publicly and not funnel them through. And I'd be happy to go. Jason and I said we'd go, and
Absolutely.
so just
That's great.
their enthusiasm was palpable when they left, and they came in
Well,
very,
that's
you know.
because of your
Well, we were dancing through that building, and the staff was just so friendly, and the kids they walked into the innovation lab, and first graders were doing circuits. How amazing is that, right?
Right.
So it was a lot of fun, and it's the pride that school gives this community. It was wonderful. So now on to my formal written report. As most of the committee knows, and this is the first time I'm speaking about it publicly, Dr. Bacon did inform me in earlier fall, that she would be resigning from her position and moving on to new opportunities. And because of that, there's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and a lot of transition planning, 11 pages of the things that she does, and trying to task those out right now, and determining what is so important to this district, and everybody is stepping up, principals, assistant principals. But we had committed to Dr. Bacon that we wouldn't, we wanted her to be sure in her position, have herself settled with a contract before we went full out. But as I mentioned to you, we did an anticipated opening. We had 21 applicants. There are 8 that are just cream of the crop. We would be lucky to get any of them. All of those interviews are scheduled, first round interviews are scheduled for next week. It is Ms. Colts, Ms. Raymond, Mr. Kohut, and Ms. Sanborn and Ms. Zotto on those interviews. We anticipate 3 rounds. The final round would be with Mr. Kalishman and myself. We also have Rebecca Buckland, president of the union, on there as well. I was trying to remember, that came through today. But we're really excited. But I do have a few words that I'd like to say about Dr. Bacon. She's been with us since 2019, 4.5 years, and shortly after her arrival, we all know that the pandemic happened in March of 2020. She led us through this challenging time with a new instructional model of remote learning. She worked tirelessly with our curriculum leaders and technology department to ensure we were doing our best to meet the needs of all our students. She's raised the bar with the data analysis and data-driven instruction. Dr. Bacon has also pursued numerous grants and played a significant role in the creation and success of the various pathways for our students. Dr. Bacon will be missed here at SPS, and we wish her nothing but the best for the future. And her last day will be January 3rd.
Great.
In high school news,
Can I ask?
Sure.
Did we have any internal candidates apply?
I was
we
just gonna
did,
ask the same question.
we had one that didn't make the first round of interviews. And then we had a candidate that used to be in Swampscott apply, but the pool was so deep, it was really hard to narrow those 21 down. And so neither of them are in the first round of interviews.
How many do you anticipate going to the final round?
I don't know. It could be 4, from what I see.
Wow, that's an incredible
It's
field.
deep, and a lot of them.
Deep
now,
field,
So what we don't know, and Mr. Kalishman, you can speak, what we don't know is, are they ready to come on board now? Because many of them are employed.
Right.
Or is this gonna be a July 1 appointment? And that's where we're working on.
Gotta figure
Just for the committees, just so you understand the background with this too, I haven't seen a posting with more than 3 applicants for any job since before COVID. To see the 21 applicants, it was wild. And when you, even beyond the top 8, I mean, there were solid candidates with, I'm sorry, thank you. So I just thought it was
They were all solid. You're absolutely right. I don't mean to, but there was such talent.
Yes.
We had to go over those applicants again, and like, Ms. Colts did hers, you did yours, I did mine. It was, yeah, there's a lot.
What do you think is different about
I was
this?
going to ask that question too.
I'd
Great question. I was not expecting 21.
like to say it's Swampscott.
Yeah, awesome.
The new elementary school.
Too, except that, like, we had just heard from Mr. Kalishman, especially during the interview process, about how terrifying it is to not get
Candidates, yeah.
candidates.
Right. Well, I think it's great. I think it's hats off to our entire district to, because the folks who obviously applied did their homework before applying, and I think that's what speaks volumes about our school district, where it's going, where it's been. So I think having 8 people go to that next to final round is incredible. I think that's great.
You just said
Hats off.
something key. What struck me, and I don't know, we haven't even talked about this, is that they had done their research.
Yeah.
They knew about our core plan. They knew about our equity work. It wasn't like they just went on the website and looked
Right.
at what our navigating paths to success. Nobody said that.
Right.
They talked about the work that we're doing. They did their research. It was very impressive. At least that stuck out to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I know we have one more meeting before Dr. Bacon leaves. If Dr. Bacon is so if she'd like, if she had the time, I'd love for her to get the recognition of our next, our last meeting. I think it's next week on the 19th. Just to come in, just so I think we can all just more publicly thank her for the very difficult job she had to do the last several years.
Yeah, she came in and then pandemic hit and we were all navigating.
Right.
Superintendent, I know obviously the best thing is to, have somebody to hit the ground running as soon as possible, but is it concerning to you that we might have to wait until July?
No, because we've spent a lot of, I spent months, the last 2 months, trying to figure out where certain pockets are gonna go, how we can get through this year with grants and who's gonna manage those. We've pulled a lot of people in. A lot of our multi-tiered systems of support work should be building-based. A lot of the equity work should be building-based. There are committees that need to be disseminated, like professional standards. Mr. Kalishman stepped up. He's replacing Dr. Bacon there. So I have a lengthy list I've kind of been going through. It's not ideal, but we could do it.
Because I think especially with the departure of the heads of departments here, that a lot of that fell onto her lap.
Well, a lot of it's fallen on the principals' laps, too.
Okay.
The principals have been meeting with the departments.
Okay.
Mr. Kohut, Mrs. Finn, and Mr. Kalishman and Mr. Zotto, they divided the departments, and they've taken that over since the beginning, because there's no way she could have done that. But it's more so her innovative pathways. Mr. Kohut's taken that over, the grant management of that, the writing of the next grant, so the Title I grants. So we've all worked as a team. Ms. Stella's been involved in those conversations as well, so we're all, people in the business office are working on things. So I appreciate how early a notice she gave us so that we would have time to really, folders are being transitioned, and I've taken on the interns, the teaching interns at the high school, that program that begins in January. I'm doing that to meet with the kids about who wants to go out to the schools and intern. So we're all taking on a little piece of things.
So you can truly pick the best person,
Right,
not
regardless
have to
of-
base
right,
it on.
that's-
Like, when can you start?
Right.
Exactly.
Which is another incredible positive for
Right.
us.
Right.
Is Ms. Bacon, is Dr. Bacon helping at all with that first round of interviews? Or-
No, because she's splitting her time between us and her new
Oh.
opportunity.
Oh.
She wanted to be able to get her feet wet in her new position.
Next.
So then just a few things that went out on the Big Blue Blast that struck me as very interesting and worthy of sharing, and that is the prospective student open house the other night was Mr. Kohut mentioned to his staff that he received a lot of positive feedback, and they had a higher attendance than last year. And I know that they're actually working with Mr. Kalishman on tweaking it for this year and then tweaking again for next year. And the only disappointment was that our band and chorus were down in Disney,
Right.
and last year they started playing when everybody was
Right.
walking in. So that's something to coordinate schedules for, but that was great. And then this next bullet, Mr. Kohut sent to his staff, I'm not sure if it went out in the Big Blue Blast, but with all the talk about the high school schedule, and Mr. Kalishman has shared with me that apparently Phillips Andover has the same high school schedule as we have, but as he's pointed out, they can go take a nap when they don't have classes and things like that, go work out in the gym. But so clearly it's something that Mr. Kohut, it's on his mind, so he decided to just analyze the AP data over the last several years, and I can read it to you, but in 2021, we had 189 test takers, and 69% earned a 3 to a 5 score. In '22, 182 test takers, 67% earned a 3 to 5. In '23, 192, 70% 3 to 5. And in 2024, we had 197 test takers, and 76% of the students earned a 3 to 5.
That's great.
That's going in the right direction.
It's
Right.
going in the right direction
So,
regardless.
so it made him feel like, the blips in those pockets of I can't get through the material
Right.
have shifted a bit, because if our kids are scoring 3 to 5, 3, 4, or 5,
Especially more and more,
Right.
with
That's
bigger
great.
and bigger
Right.
populations.
Is there, when he's looking at all of this, we've talked sort of intermittently over the last few years about the policy of if you take the AP, you take the test. Is there any reconsideration of that? or is
I don't know,
there-
that's a good question for him, I'll ask him. Yeah, I love that he took a look at this, and I love that it was tied to the schedule and being really concerned that teachers weren't able to get through the material. And he was complimenting all of the teachers, not just the AP teachers, because they're all responsible for these scores. And I thought that was great.
So Superintendent, can I just ask you as follow-up? So
Sure.
is Mr. Cohut still looking at the schedule
I think you're-
generally to see where, improvements can be made, or?
Always looking. I think the Innovate Day, where they're seeing their teachers more, they would love it to be on a Wednesday. It's on a Monday because of the other programs that we're running, like dual enrollment and the professor's time. I think it's always at the forefront of his mind of how to improve things. It's not gone away, I can tell you that.
All right.
I don't know if he'll have recommendations, if the committee's asking him to bring forward recommendations or bring forward a status report. I can certainly have him come in the spring and let us know what's gonna happen for next year.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be interested in that, I guess, sooner rather than later, just so, the committee has a line of sight to, what his thought process is, because, like you said, these concerns have been floating around, but just to kind of hear that there's some attention being paid to it, and,
Sure,
if there's actually some concrete
I'll get
you know,
I'll get him scheduled
thoughts about
sometime.
how to move forward, that, and, it actually came up during Mr. Kalishman's interview process, you were asking about that, and I think you acknowledged, Jason, that, there were some issues there that, need to be looked at, so.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea, actually. Just the sheer amount of conversation that's happened about it.
It'd also be good to know, like, how the schedule has impacted course offerings, and what, because we.
Class size. and
Yeah, class size. We certainly got, in the spring when we get the list of what's coming up for the following year, we generally have these conversations, but I feel like at that point it's late, because he's done all the heavy lifting already.
Well, it's interesting, he just sent out, and I said I'd like access to the document, he just sent out a Google form to all of the teachers asking them what they plan to teach and offer for courses next year. And one of our biggest goals is to offer more electives. And so I would like access to that document to see what teachers are recommending to be offered. So I'm seeing this more than I've ever seen it before. The program of studies is brought to us, and that's the first time I typically see it. So I'll definitely have him come in the new year.
Okay.
And I'll look at those meetings in terms of budget meetings to make sure we have time to really have a conversation. And then the other.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh, sure.
can I just, I see you just making a small homework list there.
Yep,
I think it would be interesting if you agree, if Mr. Cohut could actually query some of the teachers who teach these AP classes, if they think they have enough time, or if there are things that they would like to see as part of this conversation. Their feedback, I think that would be interesting to hear as well.
and I think he may have already got some data, so I'll check with him
Okay,
on that.
great.
I meet with the high school team every Tuesday when I'm up here, and I'll just add it to our agenda.
Thank you.
And then you know that the Northeast District chorus and orchestras and bands are near and dear to my heart. And so congratulations to Hadley Husted and Alex Shiloh on being selected to perform with this year's Massachusetts Northeastern District Senior Choir in January. And this is where students prepare a piece. They go into a little tiny room with a judge sitting there with a little clipboard, and you get judged. And then you get together with other regions and you put on a performance. And I know I'm dating myself, Sam probably doesn't know what they are, but I have records with my name on them from the Northeast District. So congratulations to Alex and Hadley. But I've started a little tradition here with our last meeting and kind of updating the committee on the work that Mr. Kalishman and I are doing together keeping in mind that Mr. Kalishman is still the full-time middle school principal, we do have that standing meeting. So the first portion, I just took what I talked about at the last meeting in case anyone didn't get a chance to get caught up on that. And then I added some new things. And so in my absence, Jason's now in charge of the district. We are going to the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents Midwinter Conference in January. It is about AI in the schools. There's some bigwigs speaking about AI in kindergarten through 12th grade, so
Great.
we are going to that.
Great. Thank you for going to that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's also acclimating Mr. Kalishman to the organization. So there's, Mass Association for School Superintendents. There is the Northeast Consortium Board. Probably towards the end of the year, I'll ask permission if he can come as a non-voting member. There is the North Shore Roundtable. So just trying to, bringing him to the tour, I wanted him to meet Dr. Blake, because Dr. Blake is part of the consortium board, and they'll be interacting a lot. So he will conduct the finalist interviews with me. He did assist with the tour yesterday, and he continues to participate in all of the finance superintendent budget meetings, because in addition to all the building meetings about budgets and the capital meetings, Ms. Stella and I meet frequently now, going down a list, preparing a presentation for you for, as a preliminary presentation, and so he's been part of all of those conversations. Beginning in January, he'll attend my standing meetings with Student Services, METCO, high school leadership, elementary leadership, technology, facilities, and school committee chair meetings. I'd like to bring him into those. I mentioned the last time, he's already meeting with faculty and staff at the elementary school and high school, because he doesn't want to assume that they know him and know what he's about. And so I feel he's keeping a log of our hours and our meetings, so that when the two of us can't remember how many meetings he's been in, we have a log. I didn't bring it tonight, but I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to share the responsibilities of this position and the changing responsibilities of this position with someone new to it, because, it's hard to describe what you do, because you don't know what your day is going to bring. You go in with one plan, and something happens, but it's the same way for a principal. But I hope you found it valuable.
So valuable, yeah. I love it.
So.
Great.
And then we have another meeting scheduled with the our UU contacts on Tuesday, next Tuesday, because Max coordinated a license agreement being drafted by our attorneys, and we have shared them with Evan and Tom, and they're going before their Board of Trustees on Monday night. So it happened yesterday that we did get a meeting on the board, on the calendar for next Tuesday at 10:30.
Great.
And then
And you did see that town meeting voted
yes,
for the payout?
yes.
Okay.
And then Ms. Wolf brought to me, Ms. O'Connor, what you had brought about Morgan's message, which was great. And I wish I had known about that sooner. I did reach out to Mr. Vaughn and Ms. Illingworth, and they are under a time crunch and can't possibly research it in time. So Ms. Wolf forwarded me all the information, and I think it's something that we should really try to get to the schools. And so I'll continue to pursue that.
So just for the rest of the committee, I was at as a parent, I was at the sports for the winter session, where Ms. Wolf and her team, goes through what everybody has to do. And a student stood up and talked about Morgan's message, which was about an injured athlete sort of getting through the social emotional part of not competing. And Ms. Wolf had mentioned that it was something that she would actually like to do well beyond what they are doing currently, but there are budget issues, to which I encouraged her to speak with the superintendent, because there is still $122,000 of the ARPA funds that have been sort of set aside for the health department to work with the schools. And I know that the superintendent has been working with them, and that money is earmarked. So.
For
it's
programs
too
like
bad.
this.
Yeah,
But you know what?
Not necessarily, but it is such a, you know, it impacts so much more than just the schools too. I mean, it's something that really anybody could benefit from.
But Ms. Wolf feels so passionately about it, and actually reading the presentations and looking at the story, I would like to look at, I know there's some other avenues we can pursue to bring it here, and I'm gonna do
Yeah,
that.
maybe we can get some grants too.
Yes, yes. And that concludes my report.
Great.
No, it doesn't, except I have 2 other items. That concludes my formal report, sorry.
Okay.
And so we have a field trip form from Mr. Knowles. It is, again, an overnight field trip, so we bring these forward to you. This is for January 17th through the 19th. It says, "Dear Swampscott School Committee, I'm writing to formally request your permission for the Swampscott High School Boys Varsity Basketball Team to participate in a basketball tournament during Martin Luther King weekend. We believe that this opportunity would provide our student athletes with valuable experience in competition and exposure. Participating in the hoop hall tournament will offer our players the chance to compete against teams from different regions, develop teamwork, sportsmanship, and leadership qualities, represent our school and community with pride and enthusiasm. We'll also tour the Basketball Hall of Fame." I don't know, Mr. Moran, if you want to add anything? Let's get you a microphone. Come on down.
Superintendent, they did this last year, or the
Yes.
before? They've done
And
it.
usually when you have approved, it doesn't have to come before you. I just get nervous when it's an overnight, and I'd
Right,
rather have.
no, I just remember,
Yes,
this is like, they're familiar with this.
yes, yes.
Did I come up from?
Sure.
Nice to have you in front.
Thank you. Gets me outside my comfort zone being in the back. Thank you guys so much for allowing me the opportunity to be here. I'm super excited to talk about this. This is the first time that our basketball program so we've been to Springfield before. So a couple years ago, we went and took the kids to some games out there to watch. And then that's Coach Knowles. That's where he grew up. So he took them to the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is a really cool opportunity for the kids. But this year, what we're doing is there's a Hoop Hall Invitational Tournament. And there's like 60 teams that are participating. They're boys and girls brackets, all of them in groups of 4. And what's really neat is that one of the teams in our bracket is one of the Springfield's International, who's the team that we lost to at the buzzer in the playoffs last year.
Oh,
So
wow.
so depending on the way that chips fall, there is an opportunity that we could go against that same team again this year, which would be really fun.
Wow.
So it's from Friday the 19th to that Sunday. The kids will go to school that Friday, and we'll probably leave here around 4, get to Springfield around 7. We have a reservation at the Texas Roadhouse there, check into the hotel, so with real people. So it's going to be an interesting experience to see them out to eat. But check into the hotel, and then Saturday is just it's just a really, packed day with lots of activities. They plan a game. We go to the Basketball Hall of Fame, go to lunch, go to dinner. It's just a really cool team bonding experience, exposes them to different teams in New England, with their towns in Massachusetts, New York, Rhode Island, New Jersey. So just lots of different exposures there. And I just really can't say enough about the team bonding opportunities.
So you did go before, but they've never played?
Correct,
So
yes.
That's great.
Yes.
That's really good.
So it's a super exciting opportunity, and so
Great.
we're really excited about it.
So we will, I'm sorry, ask your question.
Not so much for you, but really, Superintendent, as soon as you said that the girls were playing too,
Yeah.
it's really disappointing that our girls are not going on this trip. I would like I would like Ms. Wolf to consider that.
I think you probably had to apply to go, right?
I'm sure, I'm not
It's
exactly
probably
sure.
too late now, but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
these are,
I hear you.
These are opportunities.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, so
I'd like to
we,
see you take them to Red Rose Pizzeria,
Oh, you know what? I think we are actually. Yeah.
right?
I think that's it's
Because
on
that's
there.
like the
Yeah.
world's largest, best pizza.
Yeah, we are. You know what? That's a Saturday right
It's like-
after the game.
Whenever I go there,
Yeah.
Hall of Fame or whatever.
so what will
Yeah.
happen, Matt, is further down after my report, they will
Yep.
take the votes. But thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. I
thank you
really
for your
appreciate it. Thank you guys
ask.
so much.
The last item
Oh,
is,
wait.
Jason wants
I was just going to say, sorry, I'm so sorry. Just so you know, I know the girls are looking at a trip for next year out of state. So I'll let Coach Leonard talk about that. She's in the preliminary stages of, yeah, and they're flying. I think it's a Florida trip. So I don't know. I mean, it's not approved yet, and there's a whole lot of legwork, but I know she's looking into it, just so you know.
So the last item I have is another list of surplus textbooks that Dr. Bacon put together. Again, as we have closed down some schools and weeded through our collections, I hope you had a chance to look at this, but I hope you also trust judgment that these would be declared 1965.
My
basic
favorite, if I
reading.
could, can I interrupt? My
Sure.
favorite, Journeys Through North America from 1934.
1934.
I'd be really curious to see that little
We
book.
should just keep that as.
We
you know,
should
just
keep that for
an antique.
posterity.
Right.
Or maybe give it to, like, there's that, that display at Town Hall of old
Right.
school stuff. That might be a good,
The other one that really caught my eye was the 1961 English Word Building from Latin and Greek Workbook.
Wow. You know, it's like when you move into a new home and you go through everything.
Right, like you find things behind the, you
Yeah,
know, behind the
yeah.
radiator.
Under the radiator, I was gonna say,
Right,
right.
right.
And so we're just looking for your approval. I do believe there may be a vote. There's a vote requested under actions and votes that
Okay.
we declare this all surplus.
Great, thank you,
And that is the last of my
great,
report.
thank you.
I just want to point out to you that you did notice that the Lucy Calkins units are on there.
I love looking through stuff like this, I really do. Okay, Ms. Stella's not here this evening. The only thing I really have from a chair point of view, we are working diligently to try to schedule a tri-chair meeting prior to the end of the year. Mary Ellen from the Select Board and the Finance Committee, we're trying to work on a date. Hopefully that'll be on the 23rd in the morning. And I will let everybody know definitively when that happens, and then after that meeting, the first meeting in January, I will come with notes, et cetera, what is transpired. Anything from a subcommittee point of view you'd like to discuss, anybody?
I think the only update at this point is Suzanne and I are going to be meeting tomorrow just to go through some of the policy updates
Okay,
and go through some of that. So I think for now, that's it, Glenn.
yeah, okay. My only question was about the phone policy. I know we've kind of bantied that about.
Right, that's one of the things we have to
Okay,
just.
great, all right, excellent.
Can I interject?
Yeah, you can interject all you want.
So I was, I can't remember where it was that I was reading this, but there was an article that I was reading about sort of the distinction between sort of like the overarching policies versus more nitty-gritty policies. And the phones were the first thing that I thought of. And the idea that the school committee is weighing in on things that are in most ways really operational. The thought was, or the way that this article had sort of put it out there was that there were sort of two kinds of policies, and that the school committee was looking towards the schools, the users, the actual, people who are in the trenches to bring those kinds of edits forward, and that we're approving them, but really it's not, it's not time spent by a group of people who don't really know, but the time spent by the people who really do.
That's how the subcommittee generally works. Like if we're doing a policy on something that impacts like all the nurses are at the meetings and they.
Right, but they're bringing it rather than you bringing it to them or.
Right, I mean, the only time we're bringing, right, like I know Mrs. Raymond has come and asked for a policy before, it just doesn't happen very often. And a lot of times we're bringing them because we got directive to update something and we need their feedback on it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of rare if someone brings a policy. Like I really, in the whole time I've been doing this, I can only think of a couple times someone's actually said we need a policy on something.
Well, yeah, I mean, not necessarily a new policy, but, as we think about what's happening with that cell phone policy, the idea
Right.
that we're duking it out here seems
I think it was,
misplaced.
Well, we
I think
didn't
it was
duke it
us
out here
duking out,
first.
yeah, I don't think
We
it was
didn't-
us
we didn't
duking
duke it
out.
out.
Is we were trying to solicit feedback exactly from the same people that you said we should be getting it from. And it was just kind of reconciling that, and there were still some questions about what some of those recommendations were, we need to clarify.
Like, we
those.
probably should have done more of that behind the scenes. We
Right.
probably should have met as a subcommittee. We probably should have met as a subcommittee with the people in person and duked it out and brought to this committee something that was closer to complete.
Right, I think we thought it would be more,
Well, that was, I hope you don't think, that's
No.
not why I'm saying what I'm saying.
No, but, yeah.
yeah, I think we thought it would be not the heavy lift that it turned out to be, that we could resolve something with a couple of emails and, get consensus, but it hasn't quite worked out that way, but.
Has not.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience today, or anyone out there for, on the internet for public comment? If so, please raise your hand, and we will absolutely call on you. You'll go to the front of the line. Anyone out there, John?
No one's raising their hand.
No one's raising their hand, okay. Feel free to contact any one of us, and we'll answer any question you may have. So now that public comment is put to bed, we're gonna go to actions and votes.
Can I make a motion, actually?
You could make
Can I
whatever
make a
you want.
motion that we move some of these actions and votes into the consent agenda?
Thank you.
G, for the surplus textbooks.
The field trip,
A, the field trip to Spain, because,
this field trip to Spain, we talked about that last meeting?
It was at the last meeting.
Right.
Ms. Burrell presented.
Right. so there's no, no discussion around that. B, the field trip to Springfield.
The Clarke MOU is off this.
We already did D, right?
We didn't vote it.
We did
We
C
didn't
and,
vote yet.
yeah,
So
we have to vote
C-
on, voted
So
C.
I vote that C comes out.
yeah.
Oh, we
Maybe we could just take
So,
E and F out
yeah.
too, and just, keep E and F separate, but put all the rest of them in the consent agenda?
So into the consent agenda, I would say A, B, and G.
Not D? Oh, we already voted D, never mind.
No, we didn't, and D as well.
No, we voted it.
We
We
voted
did,
on
you
D.
made the
You did.
motion.
I
You
did?
made- Yeah, you made the motion, remember, conditionally?
Okay, so my first motion is that we take the Clarke MOU out and the Big Blue Bargains.
I'll second
Out.
that.
And then my second motion, oh, sorry.
Just, okay, I'm curious why. Like, I'm asking for just a,
Well, because the
So I
idea of a
understand.
consent agenda is that you're taking votes on things that don't require a discussion.
okay?
And so it's like we have this here, but it doesn't, and there are things here that don't require any discussion that shouldn't be there.
Like, we don't have to do motion and accept for each one of these things, we could just do it
Okay.
one time for all
That's
of them.
fine.
Yeah.
All right, so can you make a motion to what you want to move? to?
Okay, so the first one was I make a motion for C and D to come out.
Someone second that, please.
I seconded it already.
Okay, can we vote, all those in favor of removing C and D, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, that carries.
And then I make a motion that A, B, and G move to the consent agenda.
Someone second, please.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there's no one opposed. Okay. So, hold on.
That just leaves E and F.
So you can
Yeah.
just talk about the donations?
All right. Oh, I got it, yeah, thank you. All right, so we got a donation from the Weatherspoon Charitable Foundation. They are located in Nahant. It's a foundation. They are donating $7,500, $7,500. I'll read a brief description. This is to be utilized at the discretion of Swampscott High School television program, currently run by Mr. Joe Dulett. Please utilize these funds for improvements to the program, such as equipment, renovations, etc. And just to read it again, this is to utilize at the discretion of the Swampscott High School television program, again, run by Mr. Dulett, and please utilize the funds to improve the program, such as equipment renovations. Can someone make a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Someone second, please.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously to the Weatherspoon Charitable Foundation. $7,500 is beyond charitable, so thank you all Very, very
If I could just make a comment.
Absolutely.
That this
Every year.
foundation has been giving us
Right.
tens of thousands of dollars for as long as I
Right.
have been in this district, as
Right.
long as I was at Stanley School.
Right.
And I do know another one just came in from them that will be on the 19th, the December 19th agenda.
Right.
But to acknowledge the Christie family and this foundation, who has been supporting the schools incredibly for many, 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 many
And
years.
their kids have been out for many, many years.
Could we do that publicly?
Yeah.
Do you think that they have the desire to come in, or are they just, no?
I think they're very humble.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
we thank them then.
Yeah, can you please pass
We always
on?
send thank you notes,
Yeah.
and I'll write
Yeah.
a note, because I had the boys at, the contact is now one of the sons who was at Stanley School.
I mean, I remember last year at one meeting alone, there was like
Right.
there were 3 different gifts that totaled up to $10,000.
Right.
Easily $10,000 a year.
Right,
It's really these gifts that are like so great to all the little programs
Yes.
here and there.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
you know, like when a student has had a good experience with Mr. Dulett, like this, just
right.
gifts keep on coming because,
Yeah.
Right.
Keeps giving.
because,
that-
you
that-
know, like.
that's a
they've made
substantial
connection
amount
with
of
the
money.
teacher in the program.
The same with the alumni who donated all
Right.
the money. At
Right.
the end of the year, is there when there's a sort of, when we go over the budgets, is there a line item that includes how much has been gifted to us?
I'm sure Miss Stella has it somewhere, so let me ask her.
Yeah,
if
I'd be
she could
curious
bring
to
it
know and
Yes.
to be able to just,
Well, just these donations alone, every meeting that come in,
yeah.
Right.
so generous.
Supplement so many, like,
Yep.
especially this for programming and the next one we're gonna get for kids to go to a field trip.
Mhm.
Right.
Those are huge.
Again, that's $7,500, a lot of money. That's great. So thank you to the Witherspoon Charitable Foundation. We also have a donation from the Geron Foundation, another one of the foundations that continually makes gifts to the district. This one is for $3,200 to be used to cover for students who require financial assistance to attend the Ecology School sixth grade field trip, scholarships for 8 students or so to attend the Ecology School. Again, to the Geron Foundation is incredibly generous. That's $3,200. Can someone please make a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Someone second?
One second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. It passes unanimously. Again, if you could pass on our
Yeah, that Geron
specific.
Foundation.
Yeah, it's been also big dollars.
Fantastic.
Okay, so, that leads me to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is designed to expedite the handling of routine and miscellaneous business of the district. The school committee may adopt the entire consent agenda with one motion. At the request of any committee member or members, any item or items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda for discussion. So tonight, we have 5 items. The regular session minutes from November 7th, 2024, regular session minutes from November 21, 2024, the field trip, high school trip to Spain, the field trip, the Swampscott High School Boys Varsity Basketball Tournament in Springfield, Mass., and the surplus textbooks. Is there any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? It carries unanimously. Someone make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Someone second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, we are adjourned.